audience. Hi and welcome. It is a brand new Smith live the VR in the Forbidden Library. I'm on a horse. Little horsey. I wanted to stream where I rode a horse because I think that would be Don Quixote adjacent. But this is clearly the best one. There was a few other worlds with horses. They were a bit hard to actually drive. This one's great. This one I just move and I move. It's wonderful. Welcome everyone. Welcome Double Star. Welcome Nimby. Welcome Normal Size Phantom. Welcome X-Num. Welcome Dread Excalibur. Welcome 100 American Bison. Welcome Scarlet Silverline. Welcome. I did it all in one breath. She's on a horse. Look everybody. Look at Freddy. She's streaming on a horse. Yeah, I am. On a horsey. It makes my outfit glitch a little bit. It makes my whole body glitch a little bit. Look how weird I'm moving. But it's fun. I just feel like some kind of weird eldritch horror or something. Maybe I'm not real. Maybe. Or maybe I'm fine. Now I need to do something before we start. I have a giant pile of books that I haven't put in my by books I mean comic books. But spreadsheet time. I need to actually open the spreadsheet, that would be good. I need to see how much of this I've actually put in the spreadsheet and what I haven't. Because I'm pretty sure I already put Baby Garfield in there, but I can't remember. This, for those who maybe have not seen this before, because I don't update it half as much as I should. This is my spreadsheet where I keep track of the 10,000 books that I have to read in order to leave the library. Okay, let me just check what was the last few things I put on here. So, I don't have Baby Garfield on here at all. Righto! So, I read another Ghost Pepper, so... Oh, I need to make this smaller. That's why it's so big. There we go. Oh, now it's... Where'd it go? Oh no, I messed something up. I've messed it up in time. What the fuck? Now no one can see it ever. It's just Baby Garfield. Yeah, I got a comic of Baby Garfield. It's very cute. It's Garfield, but he's a baby. I'm gonna need to re-get this, but I need to like hide a minute. So I'm just gonna have to go on the BRB for a hot second. Thank you for your patience. I would have just done it anyway, but if you import it and stupid Microsoft has that stupid thing where it puts initials in the top corner, and I don't want you to have anything close to personal data, so I had to make sure I could crop the image before you saw it. Hello, Benjamin, welcome. So 3, 4. Nope, don't do that. You have a magic tool that could just go 3, 4, 8. It's a Baby Garfield comic by 4 different people. Oh my god. Comics, bro. I need to stop having so many authors, for fuck's sake. Grace Ellis, Asia Simone, Michael Northrop. No, it's Northrop. What a wild name. And Rob Justice. Rob Just Us. I think this is a series, but I never picked up the second one, so I actually don't know. That's one. I can't believe it takes 4 different people to come up with I'm fat, lazy, and love lasagna jokes. They did, but they did a good job. Takes a lot to make a comic, to be fair. We need at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got a ghost pepper. Issue 9? Am I really that far? I am! Comic. Did I really read this one? I don't know if I did. It just depicts a fight on the front, and I'm like, did I actually read this, or did I imagine reading this? I don't know. I think I did. Can't remember. It's been a wee while. I read these ages ago. Got another supernatural comic. Supernatural. It is a good series. I just can't remember if I read that particular issue or not. I mean, the fact that I'm 9 issues in, I'm still buying it, means that it is good. I do want to know what happens in it. It's like, it feels very like Trigun-y. It's got, the world's got that kind of vibe. Oh, the Supernatural comic was funny. The Supernatural comic was like, hey, so you two, we're gonna pass this to you guys because you're free of sin. And they're like, how are we free of sin? Well, have you hurt your brother? Have you done this? And they just look at each other and shoot each other. It's great. It's like, yeah, fuck it. We'll just shoot each other in the leg and that's fine. That's all it takes. The Shiver of Christmas Town. The Nightmare Before Christmas comic where they've taken Halloween to Christmas Town. That one's cute. Oh, I just look it up for Supernatural. Brownie, hey, I wasn't a Super Who-Lock girl, I'll give you that much, because Supernatural's actually something very new that I've gotten into. I was not a Super Who-Lock girly. Just for the record. I did know what it was, though, so I definitely was still a Tumblr girly. And then IDW Sonic Collection number 2. Comic. Lots again, I think. I'm just gonna look it up again. Cause it's a collection of, it's like, this is what it sounds like to close the Sonic IDW collection too. It's a big one. It's a big chunky boy with lots of issues, which might have been different artists and stuff, so it's a bit too big to be putting on my spreadsheet. So IDW Sonic Collection 3! I ate these two. We were all first to learn what Super Who-Lock was many times against our will. Correct. Look it up. Series 2026. And last but not least, an actual fucking book. I know, right? She does read books every so often. Oh, they can go in my bag soon now. I need to get the title up so I can, you know, put the full correct title. Unbound Love, a New Cycle. Bound Love. A new cycle. It is a light novel by none other than Staccato's very own Cynthia Cleric. Heck yeah. It was good. It was gay. It read like diary entries. Oh my god, it's so glitchy on this horse. It's wonderful. We love a little glitch. So that's 354. Let me do some calculations on a calculator because I'm too lazy. 10, 1, 2, 3,000. Take 354 equals 9,646. That's currently reading. And 46. Heck yeah. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. I'm dual wielding books recently, and I'm reading a lot at work. Because whenever it gets quiet, I'll just pull my phone out and read an ebook or something. I've gotten back into Magical Girl Raising Project. That's fun. Apparently I only have like 3 volumes of that left, and then I've completed the series. So that's great. That's exciting. And I look forward to doing that. But now... yeah, the alleged book reader when 90% of my read things are comic. But, as I've said many times before, we don't barrier reading on this channel. Whatever form of reading you do, it is reading. Whether you're reading in your video games, whether you're reading in your comic books, we do not gatekeep reading. Reading is reading. And I should hold myself to my own goddamn standards. Upgrading her weapon to dual-wield books! I am! I have like a paperback book and an ebook, and I'll read both at the same time. And it just depends on the situation. So my lunch times, I'll sit and I'll read the paperback book in my car. And if there's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of work, when there's nothing going on, there's no customers, get up, get the phone on. Am I waiting for something? Am I waiting for like something to be done in a shop or like something to cook? Get the phone out. Am I waiting for in the cinema for the movie to start because I got there too early? Get the phone out. There's so many places to read. It's great. Except now, we're going to read in VR chat. We're going to read chapter 1 of Don Quixote, which treats of the character and pursuits of the famous gentleman Don Quixote of La Mancha. Look at this picture. It's pretty cool. Let me make it big for you. Look at that! I'm so glad that so many of these, like, books that I find for you guys have pictures. Waiting in the cinema to see a new Irish horror classic. Welcome to start. Read a book. Exactly! Beautiful. The size of that chicken. Righto. In a village of La Mancha, the name of which I have no desire to call to mind, there lived not long since one of those gentlemen that keep a lance in the lance rack, an old buckler, and a lean hack, and a greyhound for coursing. An olla of rather beef than mutton, a salad on most nights, scraps on Saturdays, lentils on Fridays, and a pigeon or so extra on Sundays, made away with 3/4 of his income. The rest of it went in a doublet of fine cloth, and velvet breeches, and shoes to match for holidays, while on weekdays he made a brave figure in the best homespun. Pictures in books are the best. Honestly, we should never have given up illustrations in books. I don't know why we don't do them more. He had in his house a housekeeper past 40, a niece under 20, and a lad for the field and marketplace, who used to saddle the hack as well as handle the billhook. The age of this gentleman of ours was bordering on 50. He was of a hardy habit, spare, gaunt-featured, a very early riser, and a great sportsman. They will have it. His surname was Quisada, or Quisada. I'm not sure how to pronounce those. I apologize now for butchering things. I apologize every time I start a book for butchering things, but then you can never apologize too much for disrespecting things. For here, there is some difference of opinion among the authors who write on the subject. Thank you, author. Although, from reasonable conjectures, it seems plain that he was called that. This, however, is of little importance to our tale. It will be enough not to stray a hair's breadth from the truth in telling of it. You must know, then, that the above-named gentleman, whenever he was at leisure, which was mostly all year round, gave himself up to reading books of chivalry with such ardour and avidity that he almost entirely neglected the pursuit of his field sports, and even the management of his property. And to such pity did his eagerness and infatuation go, he sold many an acre of tillage land to buy books of chivalry to read, and brought home as many of them as he could get. But of all there was none he liked so well as those of the famous Feliciano del Silva's composition, for their lucidity of style and complicated conceits were as pearls in his sight, particularly when reading he came upon courtships and cartels, where he often found passages like "The reason of the unreason with which my reason is affiliated, so weakness my reason that with reason I murmur at your beauty." Good lord. That is an amazing sentence, to be fair. Or again, "The high heavens that of your divinity divinely fortify you with the stars, rendering you deserving of the desert your greatness deserves." Deserts! Desert, not desert. Desert. I always get confused between those two. Over conceits of this sort, the poor gentleman lost his wits, and used to lie awake, striving to understand them and worm the meaning out of them, what Aristotle himself could not have made out or extracted had he come to life again for that special purpose. He was not all easy about the wounds which Don Bellinius gave and took, because it seemed to him that, great as were the surgeons who had cured him, he must have had his face and body covered all over with seams and scars. He commended, however, the author's way of ending his book with the promise of that interminable adventure, and many a time was he tempted to take up his pen and finish it properly as is there proposed, which no doubt he would have done, and made a successful piece of work of it too, had not greater and more absorbing thoughts presented him. So he wanted to be a fanfic writer? Question mark. Ancient Spanish night taboo. Bro was writing AO3 before AO3. Yep, he beat the Star Trek fangirlies to it. Many an argument did he have with the curate of his village, a learned man and a graduate of Siguenza, as to which had been the better knight, Palamarian of England or Amadis of Gaul. Master Nicholas, the village barber, however, used to say that neither of them came up to the knight of Phoebus, and that if there was any that could compare to him, it was Don Gala, the brother of Amadis of Gaul, because he had a spirit that was equal to every occasion, and so no thinking knight, nor lachrymose like his brother, while in the matter of valour he was not a whit behind him. In short, he became so absorbed in his books that he spent his nights from sunset to sunrise, and days from dawn to dark, poring over them. And what with little sleep and much reading, his brains got so dry that he lost his wits. Oh my god! Be careful. Apparently I need to be careful of that in the library. My brain's going to get so dry I might lose my wits. My gosh. I love that as a sentence. His brains got so dry he lost his wits. His fancy grew full of what he used to read about in his books. Enchantments, quarrels, battles, challenges, wounds, wooings, loves, agonies, and all sorts of impossible nonsense. And it was so possessed him, his mind was the whole fabric of invention and fancy he read of was true, that to him no history would the world had more reality in it. Dry brain sounds uniquely painful. They do. It's okay, you need a brain to do. Well, that's just fucking rude. I have a brain. That's for you. He used to say the Cid Rudais was a very good knight, but that he was not to be compared with the Knight of the Burning Sword, who with one backstroke cut in half two fierce and monstrous giants. He thought more of Bernardo del Caprio, because of the Rossavanas. I have a brain. Are you sure? Oh no, that's true. I haven't seen it, and that's a good thing. You're not wrong, Paper. You're not wrong. He slew Roland! Oh no! Roland's dead again! In spite of enchantments availing him of the artifice of Hercules, when he strangled Antaeus, the son of Terra, in his arms. This absolutely is like a huge autistic knight rant. He approved highly of the giant Montague, because although of the giant breed, which is always arrogant and ill-conditioned, he alone was affable and well-bred. But, above all, he admired Rinaldos of Montalban, especially when he saw him sallying forth from his castle and robbing everyone he met, and when, beyond the seas, he stole that image of Baphomet. Baphomet is a demon. Baphomet. Which, as his history says, was entirely of gold. To have a bout of kicking at that traitor of the Ganlian, he would have given his housekeeper and his niece into the bargain. Ricardo Montalban of Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan fame. Yeah, it's basically what we're... this is just someone ranting about his favourite characters, and it's wonderful. In short, his wits being quite gone, he had hit upon the strangest notion that ever madman in this world hit upon, and that was that he fancied it was right and requisite, was well for the support of his own honour, as for the service of his country, that he should make a knight-errant of himself, roaming the world over in full armour and on horseback in quests and adventures, and putting in practice himself all that he had read as of being the usual practices of knight-errant, righting every kind of wrong, and exposing himself to peril and danger, from which, in the issue, he was to reap eternal renown and fame. Already the poor man saw himself crowned by the might of his arm, Emperor of Trebizond, at least, and so, led away by the intense enjoyment he found in these pleasant fantasies, he set himself forthwith to put his scheme into execution. The first thing he did was to clean up some armour that had belonged to his great-grandfather, and had been for ages lying forgotten in a corner, eaten with rust and covered with mildew. He scoured and polished it as best he could, and he perceived one great defect in it, that it had no closed helmet. Nothing but a simple morion. He's basically that kid from my 7th grade class who walked around with a katana and thought he was a samurai. Oh wait, that was me. We all had this phase, but it seems like you can get this phase to come back when you're 50, so I look forward to round 2. Looked like a whole one. It is true that, in order to see if it was strong and fit to stand a cut, he drew his sword and gave it a couple slashes, the first of which undid in an instant what had taken him a week to do. The ease with which he had knocked it to pieces disconcerted him somewhat, and to guard against that danger he set to work again, fixing bars of iron on the inside until he was satisfied with its strength, and then, not caring to try any more experiments with Oh look, it fell apart. I just won't try that again. It'll work if you just don't try it again. These days, if you buy a motorcycle and try to take up competitive windsurfing. That's true. This is basically midlife crisis. Although, back in the day, was 50 more like end life crisis? He passed it and adopted it as a helmet of the most perfect construction, obviously. He next proceeded to inspect his hack, which, with more quattros than a reel and more blemishes than the seed of Gonlian, that tantum belles et ostra fruit. I'm trying with the Spanish. I did take Spanish. I have a GCSE in Spanish. Surpassed in his eyes the Bucephalus of Alexander or the Babica of the Cid. 4 days were spent thinking what name to give him, because, as he said to himself, it was not right that a horse belonging to a knight so famous, and one with such merits of his own, should be without some distinctive name, and he strove to adapt it so as to indicate what had been before belonging to a knight-errant, and what he then was. For it was only reasonable that, his master taking a new character, he should take a new name, and that it should be a distinguished and full-sounding one, befitting the new order and calling he was about to follow. And so, after having composed, struck out, rejected, added to, unmade, and remade a multiple of names. That is such a good little... That's a wonderful little bit of writing. I'm going to go from the start, just so I can reread that. And so, after having composed, struck out, rejected, added to, unmade, and remade a multitude of names out of his memory and fancy, he decided upon calling him Rocinante. I look forward to seeing what Rocinante is in Limbus Company. A name, to his thinking, lofty, sonorous, and significant of his condition as a hack before he became what he is now, the first and foremost of all the hacks in the world. My horse is the best horse. I assume that's what he means by a hack. I'm gonna Google that. Hack, horse. Yeah, a hack is a horse. Yeah. Double, triple checking. Where I could be a little uncivilized. Gotta check these things. Having got a name for his horse so much to his taste, he was anxious to get one for himself. And he was 8 days more pondering over this point, till at last he made up his mind to call himself Don Quixote, whereas, as has been already said, the authors of this veracious history have inferred that his name must have been, beyond a doubt, Quitznada, not Quiseda, as others would have had it. Comes from the word rockum, which means workhorse. Ah, I see. So he called his horse bestest horse. Good horse. Recollecting, however, that the valiant Amadis was not content to call himself curtly Amadis and nothing more, but added the name of his kingdom and country to make it famous, and called himself Amadis of Gaul, he, like a good knight, resolved to add on the name of his, and to style himself Don Quixote of La Mancha, whereby he described accurately his origin and country, and did honour it in taking his surname from it. When they're gonna add fucking to Usum, there should be historical horses in Uma Musume. Like, if they run out of like racehorse characters, they could put historical horses in. Like I said, he just mentioned Bucephalus, Alexander the Great's horse. Then you've got sorry, I just thought about what if they did an Elden Ring crossover and we got Lenny. Leonard! I love Leonard. Radan's horse? Leonard. I fucking love that thing. That little guy. He's just holding up... Just a small little guy holding up so much man. I love him. Anyway. Ante switch stems from before. So previously a workhorse. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious. I knew it would be something silly. So then, his armor being furbished, Leonard is doing his Shadowfax. Fuck yes. Leonard is doing his best. Leonard's always doing. This man learned gravity magic because he knew he was too big for his horse. I fucking love that as a lore thing. That Radan was like, I really love my horse. I can't ride my horse anymore. I'm too big. What if I use gravity magic to make myself lighter so I could still ride my horse? Fucking love it. So then, his armor being furbished, his morion turned into a helmet, his hack christened, and he himself confirmed, he came to the conclusion that nothing more was needed. now but to look out for a lady to be in love with. For a knight errant without love was like a tree without leaves or fruit, or a body without a soul. As he said to himself, if for my sins or by my good fortune I come across some giant hereabouts, a common occurrence with knight-errants, and overthrow him in one onslaught, or cleave him asunder to the waist, or, in short, vanquish and subdue him, will it not be well to have someone I may send him to as a present? You mean like how Lancelot sent all of his enemies to Guinevere? Look at my horse is very tiny. That he may come in and fall on his knees before my sweet lady, and in a humble submissive voice say, I am the giant Caraculiambro, lord of the island of Maledrania, vanquished in single combat by the never sufficiently extolled knight Don Quixote of La Mancha, who has commanded me to present myself before your grace, that your highness dispose of me at your pleasure. Oh, how our good gentleman enjoyed the delivery of this speech, especially when he had thought of someone to call his lady. There was, so the story goes, in a village near his own a very good-looking farm girl, with whom he had been at one time in love, though so far is known, she never knew it nor gave a thought to the matter. Her name was Aldonza Lorenzo, and upon her he thought fit to confer the title of Lady of his Thoughts, and after some search for a name which should not be out of harmony with her own, and should suggest and indicate that of a princess and great lady, he decided upon calling her Dulcinea El Toboso, she being of El Toboso, a name to his mind musical, uncommon, and significant, like all those he had already bestowed upon himself, and the things that belonged to him. Ah, yeah, that girl that I met once was really pretty. She can be my lady. That works. She doesn't even need to know. She doesn't even need to know. Oh, look at this man. Look at him sort of working to live his dream. Polishing all his... Oh, his poor horse. Oh, that poor horse. That's a hack. That horse is a hack. My horse is better. I fed my horse more than this horse, that's for sure. But then Don's too busy in his brain. Chapter 2, which treats of the first sally the ingenious Don Quixote made from home. These preliminaries settled, he did not care to put off any longer the execution of his dream, urged on to it by the thought of all the world was losing by his delay, seeing that wrongs he intended to right, grievances to readdress, injustices to repair, abuses to remove, and duties to discharge. So, without giving notice of his intention to anyone, and without anybody seeing him, one morning before the dawning of the day, which was one of the hottest of the month of July, he donned his suit of armor, mounted I'm gonna Google. Hi Boris, welcome. There's a 1 in 1,000 chance of you. Are you in the rocking horse? Maybe. Rocinante is our The British one. The British voice of Google does it. Where's the Spanish one? This is all Spanish. We need the Spanish person to tell me how to say it. Spanish. Rocinante. Rocinante. Gotta roll them R's. I remember it when I was taking Spanish, and he was like, roll your R's, roll your R's. Rocinante. Best hero ship. Rocinante, with his patched up helmet on, braced his buckler, took his lance, and by the back door of the yard sallied forth upon the plain in the highest contentment and satisfaction at seeing with what ease he had made a beginning with his grand purpose. Spoilers for a couple hundred years in the future. But scarcely did he find himself upon the open plain when a terrible thought struck him. One all but enough to make him abandon the enterprise at the very outset. It occurred to him that he had not been dubbed a knight, and that according to the law of chivalry, he neither could nor ought to bear arms against any knight, and that if he had been, still he ought, as a novice knight, to wear white armour, without a device upon the shield, until his prowess had earned one. These reflections made him waver in his purpose, but his craze being stronger than any reasoning, he made up his mind to have himself dubbed a knight by the first one he came across, following the example of others in the same case, as he had read in the books that brought him to this pass. As for white armour, he resolved on the first opportunity to scour his until it was whiter than an ermine. And so, comforting himself, he pursued his way, taking that which his horse chose, for in his belief lay the essence of adventure. I love him. Oh, I just realised I'm not actually a knight. Oh well! Thus, setting out, our new-fledged adventurer paced along, taking to himself and saying, who knows but that in time to come, when the veracious history of my famous deeds is made known, the sage who writes it, when he has to set forth my first sally in the early morning, will do it after this fashion. Scarce had the rubicund Apollo spread o'er the face of the broad spacious earth the golden threads of his bright hair, scarce had the little birds of painted plumage attuned their notes to hail with dulcet and mellifluous harmony the coming of the rosy dawn. Oh my god, there's such good little sentences in here. Some of the pacing of it, like, normally I'm not one for like flowery prose, but the way this kind of flows together is so wonderful. I want to read that again. Scarce had the little birds of painted plumage attuned to their notes to hail with dulcet and mellifluous harmony the coming of the rosy dawn. Oh my god, that's so good. Perfection. That, deserting the soft couch of her jealous spouse, was appearing to mortals at the gates and balconies of the Machigan horizon, when the renowned knight Don Quixote of La Mancha, quit lazing down, mounted his celebrated steed. Google, tell me again. Rocinante, and began to traverse the ancient and famous Campo de Montel, which, in fact, he was actually traversing. Happy the age, happy the time, he continued, in which shall be made known my deeds of fame, worthy to be moulded in brass, carved in marble, limed in pictures, for a memorial forever. And thou, O sage magician, whoever thou art, to whom it shall fall to be the chronicler of this wondrous history, forget not, I entreat thee, my good Rocinante, the constant companion of my ways and wanderings. Presently he broke out again, as if he were love-stricken in earnest. Oh, Princess Delencia. I think that's how we say it. I'm going to check with Google again. Dulcinea, lady of this captive heart, a grievous wrong hast thou done me to drive me forth with scorn, and with exorable obduracy banish me from the presence of thy beauty. O lady, deign to hold in remembrance this heart, thy vassal, that thus in anguish pines for love of thee. Oh my god, I love this. Don! This man is so funny. I love him. I know, right? And to think this was the first modern novel to really knock it out of the park. Absolutely. How is anyone supposed to, like, live up to this? Honestly. Back to my phone. I've been listening in a while, making coffee, then making oatmeal for myself and my mother. We're already off to a fun start with this book. Wonderful! It is. We're having a good time. I have just completed a chapter of my tale and shall presently devote myself to repose, listening with my eyes shut for a spell. Relax. Congratulations on a chapter of your tale, and allow me to tell you this wonderful and very inspiring tale with how it uses its words. This is a very good read for an author. And so he went on stringing together these other absurdities, all in the style of his books, had all the style of those books. Those his books had taught him, imitating their language as well as he could, and all the while he rode so slowly, and the sun mounted so rapidly and with such fervour that it was enough to melt his brains, if he had any. The absolute scorn that the author has for him, it's like, I mean, it would melt his brains, but he doesn't have any. He is, in fact, an idiot. People read Don Quixote in ancient Spain and be like, dang, how are they going to top this one? They really are. It's so good. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite tropes is when the narrator of a book takes none of the main character's shit. I think one of the other things I've read that was very similar to this was Moon Empire, where the main character comes off as really kind to everyone else, but the author is always very quick to remind you, because she's doing this for very selfish reasons, because she is in fact a selfish brat. This really reminds me of that. I love it. It's so good. Nearly all the day he travelled without anything remarkable happening to him, at which he was in despair, for he was anxious to encounter someone at once, upon whom to try the might of his strong arm. Look at the man. He walks a lonely road, the only road that he has ever known. Don't know where it goes, but he has no brain, so he doesn't care. Writers there are who say the first adventure he met was that of Quiote, blah 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 blah. Lapice. Others say it was that of the windmills, but what I have ascertained on this point And what I have found written in the annals of La Mancha is that he was on the road all day, and towards nightfall his hack and he found themselves dead, tired and hungry, when looking all round to see if he could discover any castle or shepherd's shanty where he might refresh himself and relieve his sore wants, he perceived not far out of his road an inn, which was as welcome as a star guiding him to the portals, if not the palaces, of his redemption, and quickening his pace he reached it. It just as night was settling in. At the door were standing 2 young women, girls of the district as they call them, on their way to Seville with some carriers who had chanced to halt that night at the inn. And as happened what might to our adventurer, everything he saw or imagined seemed to him to happen after the fashion of what he read of. The moment he saw the inn, he pictured himself as a castle, with its 4 turrets and pinnacles of shining silver, not forgetting the drawbridge and moat, and all the belongings usually ascribed to castles of the sort. To this inn, which to him seemed a castle, he advanced, and at a short distance from it he checked Rocinante, hoping that some dwarf would show himself upon the battlements, and by sound of trumpet give him notice that a knight was approaching the castle. But seeing that they were slow about it, and that Rocinante was in a hurry to reach the stable, he made for the inn door, and perceived 2 gay damsels who were standing there, and who seemed to him to be 2 fair maidens, or lovely ladies, taking their ease at the castle gate. 1 second, gotta finish my tea. At this moment it so happened that a swineherd who was going through the stubbles collecting a drove of pigs, for without any apology that is what they are called. Was this a bad word at the time? Was there a bad word in here at the time? Gave a blast of his horn to bring them together, and forthwith it seemed to Don Quixote to be what he was expecting, the signal of some dwarf announcing his arrival, and so with prodigious satisfaction he rode up to the inn and to the ladies, who, seeing a man of this sort approaching in full armour with a lance and buckler, were turning in dismay into the inn, when Don Quixote, guessing their fear by their flight, raising his pasteboard visor, disclosed his dry, dusty visage, and with courteous bearing and gentle voice addressed them. Your ladyships need not fly or fear any rudeness, for that it belongs not to the order of knighthood which I profess to offer to anyone, much less to high-born maidens, as your appearance proclaims you to be. The girls were looking at him and straining their eyes to make out the features which the clumsy visor obscured. But when they heard themselves called maidens, a thing so much out of their line, they could not restrain their laughter, which made Don Quixote wax indignant and say, modesty becomes the fair, and moreover laughter that has little cause is great silliness. This, however, I say not to pain or anger you, for my desire is none other than to serve you. The incomprehensible language and the unpromising looks of our cavalier only increased the lady's laughter. Hello, Master Nax, welcome. As a Spaniard with roots in La Mancha, I'm happy to this stream this afternoon. Yay! That I do apologize for butchered Spanish. I'm doing my best. But that's very fun. We have a La Mancha person. Welcome. And that increased his irritation, and matters might have gone farther if that moment the landlord had not come out, who, being a very fat man, was a very peaceful one. He, seeing this grotesque figure clad in armour that did not match any more than his saddle, bridle, lance, buckler, or corselet, was not all indisposed to join the damsels in their manifestations of amusement, but, in truth, standing in awe of such a complicated armament, he thought it best to speak him fairly, so he said, "Senor Calibero, if your worship wants lodgings..." What? Yeah, you've been a member for ages! Fucking ages. Look how long it's been. 22 months. Where in the world is Brady? I am in a VR chat world. That's where I am. We're in Spain. We're in La Mancha. Look at my horse. Of course we're in La Mancha. For there is not one in the inn. There's plenty of everything else here. Don Quixote, observing the respectful bearing of the alcalde of the fortress, for so the innkeeper and inn seemed in his eyes, made answer, "Sir Castellan, for me anything will suffice. For my armour is my only wear, my only rest the fray." I was wondering about your valiant steed for a while. He's wonderful. Look at him. Look at him. It is my horsey. I don't think I have a posh name for my horsey. I'm gonna call him one of the few Spanish words I know. This is queso. This is cheese. My horse. The host fancied he called himself Castellan because he took him for a worthy of the Castile, though he was in fact an Andalusian, and one from the strand of San Lucar, as crafty as a thief, as cacus, and as full of tricks as a student or a page. "In that case," said he, "your bed is on the flinty rock, your sleep to watch alway. And if so, you may dismount safely, reckon upon any quantity of sleeplessness under this roof for a 12th month, and not say for a single night." The equivalent of a guy in full Inuyasha cosplay walking up to a restaurant and talking like Nyaneko Sugar. Basically, yes, this is exactly what it is. If you look closely, you can see a pair of X-rays installed to protect Jenny from friends. Yes, correct. So saying, he advanced to hold the stirrups for Don Quixote, who got down, and with great difficulty and exertion, for he had not broken his fast all day, and then charged his host to take great care of his horse, as he was the best bit of flesh that ever ate bread in the world. Oh my God. What a wonderful way to say he's the best bit of flesh that ever ate bread in this whole ass world. I love it. It's so good. The landlord eyed him over, but did not find him as good as Don Quixote said, nor even half as good, and putting him up in the stable, he returned to see what might be wanted by his guest, whom the damsels, who had by this time made their peace with him, were now relieving of his armour. They had taken off his breastplate and back-piece, but they neither knew nor saw how to open his groget, or remove his makeshift helmet, for he had fastened it with green ribbons, which, as they There was no untying the knots required to be cut. This, however, he would not by any means consent to, so he remained all evening with his helmet on, the drollest and oddest figure that can be imagined. And while they were removing his armour, taking his baggages, who were about it for ladies of high degree belongings to the castle, he said to them with great sprightliness, "Oh, never surely was there a knight so served by the hand of dame, as served was he Don Quixote hight, when from his tower he came, with maidens waiting on himself, princess on his hack, or Rocinante, for that lady is mine, is my horse's name, and Don Quixote of La Mancha is my own. For though I had no intention of declaring myself until my achievements in your service and honour had made me known, the necessity of adapting that old ballad of Lancelot to the present occasion has given you the knowledge of my name altogether prematurely. A time, however, will come for your ladyship to command and me to obey, and then the might of my arm will show my desire to serve you." He's just so excited to be a knight that he's like, "Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oh well, I'm really excited. I want to tell you that I'm a knight. I want to tell everyone that I'm a knight. By the way, I'm a knight." Hi, Cooper. Welcome. Oh, Don Quixote is a silly bean. Silly bean man. The girls, who were not used to hearing rhetoric of this sort, had nothing to say in reply. They only asked him if he wanted anything to eat. "I would gladly eat a bit of something," said Don Quixote, "for I feel it would come very seasonably." The day happened to be a Friday, and in the whole inn there was nothing but some pieces of the fish they call in Castile. Honestly, Don Quixote and Limbas is making so much sense right now. Google Translate help. This is a word I don't know. Abadejo! And in Andalusia, bacalao. Baka. That's Japanese, that is. Bacaya. And in some places, curadido. Which apparently I can also translate from Welsh. What is that in Welsh? I don't know, I thought it was Welsh, but never actually told me what it was. And in others, trullet. So they asked him if he thought he could eat trullet, for there was no other fish to give him. "If there be trullets enough," said Don Quixote, "they will be the same thing as a trout, for it is all one to me whether I am given 8 reals in small change, or a piece of 8. Moreover, it may be that these trullets are like veal, which is better than beef, or kid, which is better than goat. But whatever it may be, let it come quickly, for the burden and pressure of my arms cannot be borne without support to the inside." They laid a table for him at the door of the inn, for the sake of the air, and the host brought him a portion of ill-soaked and worse cooked stockfish, and a piece of bread as black and mouldy as his own armour. But a laughable sight it was to see him eating, for, having his helmet on and the beaver up, he could not, with his own hands, put anything into his mouth unless someone else placed it there. And to his service one of the ladies rendered him, but to give him anything to drink was impossible, or would have been, so had not the landlord board a reed. Oh, 1 second. And putting one end in his mouth, poured the wine into him through the other, all which he bore with patience rather than sever the ribbons of his helmet. Did you know Don Quixote is actually 2 books? Cervantes wrote the second one because the other authors kept making sequels and he hated them! He was like, fuck you and all your fan fictions. It is wild because back then, like, copyright only really became a thing around when Sherlock Holmes started. Like, Sherlock Holmes was one of the first biggest cases of copyright with Arsène Lupin trying to write Sherlock Holmes into his book. And especially with Don Quixote itself, ironically starting with a script about, with a passage about how Don Quixote could have written his own versions of these books and made a killing out of it. So basically, like, fanfic was publishable back then, which is wild. Fanfic was absolutely a-okay to publish and make money from. So it's quite funny that we got a second Don Quixote book because the author was like, fuck all your fanfiction. This is the canon. This is the canon and you'll respect it. Wild. Oh, and for the record, with the Arsène Lupin one, the Arsène Lupin author respected that he couldn't use Sherlock Holmes, so creatively he used a character called Herlock Sholmes. It's also sold as 1 book. I believe this one does have both the books in the version I'm reading at the moment. Oh no, I don't want that. I want table of contents. Yeah, so I've got like book 2, volume 2 in here. So we've got it all in here. Whether we get through it all is a whole another question, but I think I just lost my page. It's fine. It's worth the chat. Hell, in Italy, copyright used to be so lax as the late 70s and 80s film companies were just making unauthorized sequels to popular movies. Wild. Alien 2 and Zombie 2. That's funny. What was I up to? While this was going on, there came up to the inn a Sogelder who, as he approached, sounded his reed pipe 4 or 5 times, and thereby completely convinced Don Quixote that he was in some famous castle, and that they were regaling him with music, and that the stockfish was trout, the bread the whitest, the wenches ladies, and the landlord the castellan of the castle, and consequently he held that his entire enterprise and sally had been to some purpose, but still it distressed him to think that he had not been dubbed a knight, for it was plain to him he could not lawfully engage in any adventure without receiving a proper knighthood. Gotta get that proper knighthood. So in the olden days was the wild days of publishing. Hang on. Gonna go back to the time and write Brady's Adventure and Don Quixote story. I love that! I mean, Don Quixote's technically... it's open domain now anyway. So you could do that. And then all you have to do is get permission from me to use me. And it's fine, it's possible. Possible now. Look at the illustration. Look at this man causing so much trouble for everyone. Don Quixote is 500 years old! Holy shit, I didn't realize it was quite that old. Yet it holds up. It's a masterful piece. Even now, like, some of these like little bits of prose is absolutely blowing me away. 500 years later, to to be inspiring people and art 500 years in the future. Mind blown. It's so cool. 400. That's still feckin' cool. It's still feckin' cool. History, humans, stories. Chapter 3. Wherein is related the droll way in which Don Quixote had himself dubbed a knight. This looks a bit dodgy. Phantom is full of modern facts. It's great. There's also a passage in the second Don Quixote book where Don and Sancho talk about a country that is settling of one of the most popular and authorized sequels and decided to go there. Yes. Yep. Master Noctum. Additional. We love it. I love it when I get people in chat who are knowledgeable about the things. This looks so dodgy. I'm guessing this is his knighting, but it looks so dodgy. Looks very strange. And Don Quixote is just absolutely a stick man. There's nothing to this man. He has nothing. He is nothing. Harassed by his reflection, he made haste with his scanty pothouse supper. And having finished it, called the landlord, and shutting himself into the stable with him, fell on his knees before him, saying, "From this spot I rise, rise not, valiant knight, until your courtesy grants me the boon I seek, one that will redound to your praise and the benefit of the human race." The landlord, seeing his guest at his feet, hearing a speech of this kind, stood staring at him in bewilderment, not knowing what to do or say, and entreating him to rise, but all to no purpose until he agreed to grant him the boon demanded of him. "I looked for no less, my lord, from your high magnificence," replied Don Quixote. "I have to tell you that the boon I have asked, and your liberality to grant it, is that you shall dub me a knight tomorrow morning, and that tonight I shall watch my arms in the chapel of your castle. Thus tomorrow, as I have said, will be accomplished what I so much desire, enabling me lawfully to roam through all 4 quarters of the world, seeking adventures on behalf of those in distress, as is the duchy of chivalry and the knight errant like myself, whose ambition is directed to such deeds." It's really great reading what people post on the server, because there's some really good stuff. Yes! I love encouraging people to talk about their special interests, because people are smart and know such facts, and it's great. Hello, Kazuki again. I hear people with these types of good voices, then I... Kazuki-kun, you just need some confidence. Confidence, that's all. Speak like you're amazing, and you'll get there. I promise. But then I haven't heard your voice, to be completely honest, so I don't know. But I have faith that your voice is not ugly, and that you are wonderful. The landlord, who, as has been mentioned, was something of a wag. A wife and girlfriend? That's what I think of when I hear a wag now. Remember when it used to be footballers' wags? I want to post about what I've been researching, but I can't find the document to confirm what last detail. Like commonly it is known, but I want the first hand. You want the proof! I get it. You want the proof. the knowledge. What's the point in passing on the knowledge if you don't have the proof? You could be lying to us. We don't know. And has already some suspicion of his guest's want of wits. Was quite convinced of it on hearing talk of this kind from him, and to make sport for the night he determined to fall in with his humour. So he told him he was quite right in pursuing the object he had in view, and that such a motive was natural and becoming in cavaliers, as distinguished as he seemed, and his gallant bearing showed him to be, and that he himself, in his younger days, had followed the same honourable calling, roaming in quest of adventures in various parts of the world, among others the curing grounds of Malanga, the Isles of Ruran, the precincts of Seville, the little market of Segovia, the Olivier of Valencia, the Rondilia of Granada, the Strand of San Luca, the cult of Cordova, the taverns of Toledo, and the divers, and divers other quarters, where he had proved the nimbleness of his feet and the lightness of his fingers, doing many wrongs, cheating many widows, ruining maids and swindling minors, and in sort bringing himself under the notice of almost every tribunal and court of justice in Spain, until at last he retired to his castle, where he was living upon his property and upon that of others, and where he received all knight-errants of whatever rank or condition they might be, all for the great love he bore them, and that he might share their substance with him in return for his benevolence. This landlord just be like, gotta meet him on his level. We gotta be, this could be useful. Gotta meet him on his level though. Chocolate pudding! I love chocolate. And puddings. But when people say pudding, what do you mean pudding? Do you mean like that, like, custardy jelly stuff? Because I don't think I'm a fan of that. Except figgy pudding. Most puddings is good pudding, but something chocolatey is extra good pudding. Chocolatey makes me happy. I like chocolate. He told him, moreover, that in this castle of his there was no chapel in which he could watch his armour, and as it had been pulled down in order to be rebuilt, but that, in a case of necessity, it might be, he knew, be watched anywhere, and he might watch it that night in the courtyard of the castle, and in the morning, God willing, the requisite ceremonies might be performed so as to have him dubbed a knight, and so thoroughly dubbed that nobody could be more so. You want to try black pudding at least once? Yeah, that's fair. I don't think I've had it. I think I got so put off by it, the idea of it as a kid, that I've just, like, never bothered with it. I hear it's just very salty. That he had not a farthing, as in the histories of knight-errants, he had never read of any of them carrying any. Farthing? Was it not pesetas back then? Farthing was something else, wasn't it? Unless this has been translated to have... Because farthing's English, isn't it? Unless it's translated by an English person, so they've translated the currency, potentially, as well. Can't believe Don Quixote is already arguing Dumbledore's son. He is. He asked if he had any money with him, to which Don Quixote replied he had not a farthing, as in the histories of knight-errants he had never read of any of them carrying any. On this point the landlord told him he was mistaken, for though not recorded in the histories, because, in the author's opinion, there was no need to mention anything so obvious and necessary as money and clean shirts, it was not to be supposed, therefore, that they did not carry them, and he might regard it as a certain and established that all knight-errants, about whom there were so many and unpredictable books, carried well-furnished purses in case of emergency, and likewise carried shirts and a little box of ointment to cure the wounds they received. Farthing was a quarter-pence, so they probably did convert the currency to illustrate how little money he has. No pesetas for us. We'll be arguing about subs versus dubs long after our great descendants tune in to watch Android Brain read the latest Hollow novel. God, if I get replaced by an AI after I die, that'll be wild. For in those plains and deserts were where they engaged in combat and came out wounded, it was not always that there was someone to cure them, unless indeed they had for a friend some sage magician to succour them at once by fetching through the air upon a cloud some damsel or dwarf with a vial of water of such virtue that by tasting one drop of it they were cured of their hurts and wounds in an instant and left as sound as if they had not received any damage whatsoever. But in case this should not occur, the knights of old took to see that their squires were provided with money and other requisites, such as lint and ointments for healing purposes, and when it happened that knight had no squires, which was rarely and seldom the case, they themselves carried everything in cunning saddlebags that were hardly seen on the horse's croup. Oh no, your consciousness gets uploaded at the end. Oh, I see. That makes more sense. By choice or whether you want it or not. Same goofball wig. Well, I suppose my avatar would look a little better. I'd maybe be a little less glitchy. We wouldn't look as strange on this horse, that's for sure. As if it were something else of more importance, because unless for some such reason carrying saddlebags was not very famously regarded among knight-errants, he therefore advised him and his godson soon to be, he might even command him, never from that time forth to travel without money and the usual requirements, and he would find the advantage of them when he least expected it. You have to play D&D? Oh, have fun. I will have fun reading. You have a good time D&Ding. May your rolls be ever 20. Don Quixote promised to follow his advice scrumptiously? Is that not a way to describe food? Scrumptiously? And it was arranged forthwith that he should watch his armour in a large yard at one side of the inn. So, collecting it all together, Don Quixote placed it on a trough that stood by the side of a well, and bracing his buckler on his arm, he grasped his lance and began with a stately air to march up and down in front of the trough. And as he began his march, night began to fall. The landlord told all the people who were in the inn about the craze of his guest, and watching of the armour, and the dubbing ceremony he contemplated. Full of wonder at so strange a form of madness, they flocked to see it from a distance, and observed with what composure he sometimes paced up and down, or sometimes leaning on his lance, gazed on his armour without taking his eyes off it for ever so long. And as the night closed in with a light from the moon so brilliant that it might vie with his that lent it, everything the novice knight did was plainly seen by all. Meanwhile, one of the carriers who were in the inn thought fit to water his team, and it was necessary to remove Don Quixote's armour as it lay on the trough, but seeing the other approach, hailed him in a loud voice, "O thou, whoever thou art, rash knight, that comest to lay a hand on the armour of the most valorous errant that ever girt on sword, have a care what thou dost. Touch it not, unless thou wouldst lay down thy life, as the penalty of thy rashness." Scrupulously, intensely, and profusely, not the same as scrumptious. Scrumptious as in chitty chitty bang bang. Truly scrumptious. You're truly scrumptious. I love chitty chitty bang bang, it's good. I think I like bed knobs and broomsticks more though, because it had the beautiful briny sea, which I know they mean briny as in like brine and water, but you know what? It's me still, okay? Meanwhile, the carrier gave no heed to these words, and he would have done better to heed them if he had been heedful of his heath. I love this prose, this is so good. But seizing it by the straps, flung the armor some distance. Bro! Couldn't even be like gentle with it, just fucking yeeted it? What a bastard. Seeing this, Don Quixote raised his eyes to heaven and fixing his thoughts apparently upon his lady Dulcinea, exclaimed, "Aid me, lady mine, in this first encounter that presents itself to this breast which thou holdest in subjection. Let not thy favour and protection fail me in this first jeopardy." And with these words and others to the same purpose, dropping his buckler, he lifted his lance with both hands, and with it smote such a blow that the carrier's head, that he stretched him on the ground, so stunned that he followed it up with a second. There would have been no need of a surgeon to cure him. This done, he picked up his armour, returned to his beat with the same serenity as before, bobbing along on the bottom of the beautiful briny sea. Yes, exactly! Don Quixote's first murder! Yay! One of many, I assume. Shortly after this, another, not knowing what had happened, for the carrier still lay senseless, well, it might not be murder, came with the same object of giving water to his mules, and was proceeding to remove the armour in order to clear the trough, when Don Quixote, without uttering a word or imploring aid from anyone, once more dropped his buckler and once more lifted his lance, and without actually breaking the second carrier's head into pieces, made more than 3 of it, for he laid it open in 4. Good lord. At the noise, all the people of the inn ran to the spot, and among them the landlord. Seeing this, Don Quixote braced his buckler on his arm, and with his hand on his sword exclaimed, "O lady of beauty, strength and support of my faint heart, it is time for thee to turn the eyes of thy greatness on this thy captive knight on the brink of so mighty an adventure." Might not be a murder, she says immediately before the murder. Murder! By this, he felt himself so inspired that he would not have flinched if all the carriers in the world had assailed him. The comrades of the wounded, perceiving the plight they were in, began from a distance to shower stones on Don Quixote, who screened himself as best he could with his buckler, not daring to quit the trough and leave his armour unprotected. The landlord shouted to them to leave him alone, for he had already told them that he was mad, and as a madman he would not be accountable, even if he killed them all. Still louder shouted Don Quixote, calling them knaves and traitors, and the lord of the castle, who allowed knight-errants to be treated in this fashion a villain, and a low-born knight whom, had he received the order of knighthood, he would call to account for his treachery. But of you, he cried, base and vile rabble, I make no account. Fling, strike, come on, do all ye can against me. Ye shall see what the reward of your folly and insolence will be. This he uttered with so much spirit and boldness that he filled his assailants with a terrible fear, and as much for his reason at the persuasion of the landlord, they left off stoning him, and he allowed them to carry off the wounded, and with the same calmness and composure as before, resumed the watch over his armour. But these freaks of his guests were not much to the liking of the landlord, so he determined to cut matters short and confer upon him at once the unlucky order of knighthood before any further misadventure could occur. So, going up to him, he apologized for the rudeness which, without his knowledge, had been offered to him by these low people, who, however, had been well punished for their audacity. As he had already told him, he said there was no chapel in the castle, nor was it needed for what remained to be done, for, as he understood the ceremony of the order, the whole point of being dubbed a knight lay in the accolade and in the slap on the shoulder, and that could be administered in the middle of a field, and that he had now done all that was needful as to watching the armour, for all requirements were satisfied by the watch of 2 hours only, while he had been more than 4 about it. Don Quixote believed it all, 'cause he's not smart. Or, I'm not sure, he's not smart, but he's also very willing to accept anything that makes his life easier. And told him he stood there ready to obey him, and to make an end of it with as much dispatch as possible. For if he were again attacked, and felt himself to be dubbed a knight, he would not, he thought, leave a soul alive in the castle, except such as out of respect he might spare at his bidding. He's so very mentally unwell. Indeed he is. Thus warned and menaced, the Castilian forthwith brought out a book in which he used to enter the straw and barley he served out of the carriers, and with a lad carrying a candle and the two damsels already mentioned, he returned to where Don Quixote stood, and bade him kneel down. Then reading from his account book, as if he were repeating some devout prayer, in the middle of his delivery, he raised his hand and gave him a sturdy blow on the neck, and then with his own sword a smart slap on the shoulder, all while muttering between his teeth as if he were saying his prayers. Having done this, he directed one of the ladies to gird on his sword, which she did with great self-possession and gravity, and not a little was required to prevent a burst of laughter at each stage of the ceremony. Oh, she's doing her best. She's doing her best. She's like, I just keep a straight face. This is fucking hilarious, though. But what they had already seen of the novice knight's prowess kept their laughter within bounds. On girding him with the sword, the worthy lady said to him, "May God make your worship a very fortunate knight, and grant you success in battle." Don Quixote asked her name, in order that he might, from that time forward, know to whom he was beholden for the favour he had received, as he meant to confer upon her some portion of the honour he acquired by the might of his arm. She answered with great humility that she was called La Tolsa, and that she was the daughter of a cobbler of Toledo, who lived in the stalls of... Oh my god, I'm gonna need Google Translate for that one! Help, Google! Help! It's too Spanish! Sancho Bienaya! And that wherever she might be, she would serve and esteem him as her lord. Don Quixote said in reply that she would do him a favour if thenceforward she would assume the Don and call herself Donna Tulsa. She promised she would, and then the other buckled on his spur, and with her followed almost the same conversation as the lady of the sword. He asked her name, and she said it was La Molly. Welcome. Molinera. And that she was the daughter of a respectable miller in Antequera. And of her, likewise, Don Quixote requested she adopt the Don, and called herself Don Molina, making offers to her further services and favours. Having thus, with hot haste and speed, brought a conclusion these never till so seen ceremonies, Don Quixote was on thorns until he saw himself on horseback, sallying forth in quest of adventures, and saddling Rocinante, at once he mounted and embracing his host, as he returned thanks for his kindness in knighting him, he addressed him in language so extraordinary that it is impossible to convey the idea of it or report it. The landlord, to get him out of the inn, replied in no less rhetoric, though with shorter words, and without calling upon him to pay the reckoning, "Let him go with a Godspeed." Please leave, please leave, please leave. Don't kill anyone else. Please leave, please leave. Funny. Funny, funny. This is a good book. This is a very good book. Gerd. You mean grid? You mean to grid man someone? Sorry, Benjamin, but thank you for... I prefer to be corrected on these kind of things, I'm not gonna lie. So I do appreciate you kind of pointing stuff out and poking me on things. That was funny. Of what happened to our knight when he left the inn. By the way, the name they have given him are commonplace. La Tulsa comes from Toledo, and La Morena means the miller. But I thought when he asked their names that they weren't gonna give real names anyway. The Gridman SSSSS thick thighs, yes. Because obviously he's a psychopath who just murdered one of their colleagues, and they're just trying to get the madman out of the inn. So it doesn't surprise me that they gave... I'm guessing it's kind of a similar idea of going like, yes, I'm Mrs. Smith. I'm Mrs. Jones. That kind of thing. Really common names. He absolutely fucking cooked. Miguel de Cervantes. You're a goat. Goated writer. Day was dawning when Don Quixote quitted the inn, so happy, so gay, so exhilarated at finding himself now dubbed a knight, that his joy was like to burst with his horse's girths. However, recalling the advice of his host as to the requisites he ought to carry with him, especially that referring to money and shirts, he determined to go home and provide himself with... I wondered if he would do that. If he'd be like, maybe I should go home. And also with a squire, for he reckoned upon securing a farm labourer, a neighbour of his, a poor man with a family, but very well qualified for the office of squire, to a knight. With this object, he turned his horse's head towards his village, and Rocinante, thus reminded of his old quarters, set out so briskly that he hardly seemed to tread the earth. Horses always remember the way home. They do, they do. The one nobody knows yet. Hello! Yes, bedtime story. He had not gone far when, out of the thickets on his right, there seemed to come feeble cries of someone in distress. And the instant he heard them, he exclaimed, "Thanks be to heaven for the favour it accords me, that it so soon offers me an opportunity of fulfilling the obligation I have undertaken, and gathering the fruit of my ambition. These cries, no doubt, come from some man or woman in want of help, and needing my aid and protection." And wheeling, he turned Rocinante in the direction whence the cries seemed to proceed. He had gone but a few paces into the woods when he saw a mare tied to an oak, and tied to another, and stripped from the waist upwards, a youth of about 15 years of age, from whom the cries came. Nor were they without cause, for a lusty farmer was flogging him with a belt, and following up every blow with scoldings and commands, repeating, "Your mouth shut and your eyes open," while the youth made answer, "I won't do it again, master mine. By God's passion, I won't do it again, and I'll take more care of the flock another time. Hello, Shadowroach. Hello, Miss Streamer. Hello, chat. What magnificent Rocinante you ride." But still able to read. I know. I'm so multi-talented that I can ride this magnificent steed and read to you. I'm just amazing. Seeing what was going on, Don Quixote said in an angry voice, "Discourteous knight! It ill becomes you to assail one who cannot defend himself. Mount your steed and take your lance." I love reading this right after reading the Arthurian legends, because the Arthurian, we have an idea of what the books that Don Quixote was so obsessed with look like because of reading those Arthurian legends beforehand. It's good shit. For there was a lance leaning against the oak to which the mare was tied. "And I will make you know that you are behaving as a coward." The farmer, seeing before him this figure in full armour brandishing a lance over his head, gave himself up for dead and made answer meekly, Sir Knight, this youth that I am chastising is my servant, employed by me to watch a flock of sheep that I have hard by, and he is so careless that I lose one every day. And when I punish him for his carelessness and knavery, he says I do it out of I don't think I can say that word. To escape paying him the wages I owe him. And before God and on my soul, he lies. You don't have a lance? Will a blender do? Maybe. We could try. If you can you mean like you can try catch the end of the lance in the blender? And then maybe you can blend the lance as it goes. Don Quixote's lance is so old that would probably work. She can read on a steed as long as it rhymes. She could do it. Lies before me, base clown, said Don Quixote. By the sun that shines on us, I have a mind to run you through with this lance. Pay him at once, without another word. If not, by the god that rules us, I will make an end of you and annihilate you on the spot. Release him instantly. Yeah, avoiding that word is probably the best. It might have racist etymology, or it might not. I mean, in Spanish, obviously it just means the color, so I don't know. I mean, given that that picture, it probably, given the skin tone here, probably was a little racist, but of its time, everything is. We gotta just carry on. The rest of it has been wonderful, and we just gotta accept of its time and avoid it. Will it blend? Is that the question? Shredding Don Quixote's lance. I just thought about beating him over the head with it, but I like your idea better, Noble Knight. See, I know. We'll turn anything into a Noble Knight's weapon, I tell you. Apparently this book is really popular in China, so much that the Jackie Chan film Wheels on Meals was filmed in Spain to tribute it, and reference in the tagline is more fun than Don Quixote. Wild! Oh, that's so funny that China loves this. The farmer hung his head and without a word untied his servant, of whom Don Quixote asked how much his master owed him. It really does. And it, like I said, it's so much fun that we read the Arthurian Nights before this. He replied, 9 months and 7 reals a month. Don Quixote added it up and found it came to 63 reals, and told the farmer to pay it down immediately if he did not want to die for it. The word is older than transatlantic slave trade and has no racist etymology. But it's still best OP as the YouTube overdoes. It is. We're best avoiding it for now. Maybe it didn't have the connotations back then, but it really do now. Because language changes and words change. The trembling clown replied that he lived, and by the oath he had sworn, though he had not sworn any, it was not so much, for there were to be taken into account and deducted 3 pairs of shoes he had given him, and a real for 2 bloodlettings when he was sick. All that is very well, said Don Quixote, but let the shoes and the bloodlettings stand as a set-off against the blows you have given him, without any cause. For if he spoiled the leather of the shoes you paid for, you have damaged that of his body, and if the barber took blood from him when he was sick, you have drawn it when he was sound. So, on that score, he owes you nothing. Can't believe that in 400 years, Brady is a slur of bald. You... Can I give you one of these again? One of these. That's for you. I love finger tracking. Not the bloodletting. You're dizzy. Shouldn't be letting people bloodlet. Can't let it. No permission. You're not gonna let it happen. It's getting worse. These are getting worse. You said it was sad. You said it was synonymous though, and it's not because I'm not bald. So. The difficulty is, Sir Knight, that I have no money here. Let Andrus come home with me, and I will pay him all real by real. I go with him, said the youth. Nay, God forbid! No, Signor, not for the world. For once alone with me, he would lay me flat like Saint Bartholomew. He will do nothing of the kind, said Don Quixote. I have only to command, and he will obey me. And as he has sworn to me by the order of knighthood, which he has received, I leave him free, and I guarantee the payment. Consider what you are saying, senor, said the youth. This master of mine is not a knight, nor has he received any order of knighthood, for he is Juan Halduo the Rich of Quintana. Brownie might not be bald, but you can't prove no hair below the wing. Shh, I'm not bald. You mean not bald yet? No! Fuck off. You stay away with me, that razor. I'm glad there's an internet between us and you nobody knows yet. Stay away. I don't trust you with those razors. At all. Not one bit. That matters little, replied Don Quixote. There may be Halduo knights. Moreover, everyone is the son of his works. Bald is great. Bald is... yeah, sure. Bald might be great, but it's not me. That is true, said Andres, but this master of mine, of what works is he the son, when he refuses me the wages of my sweat and labour? I do not refuse, brother Andres, said the farmer. Be good enough to come along with me, and I swear by all orders of knighthood there are in the world to pay you as I have agreed, reel by reel, and perfumed. For the perfumery I excuse you, said Don Quixote. Give it to him in reels, and I shall be satisfied. I see that you do as you have sworn. If not, by the same oath I swear to come back and hunt you out and punish you. And I shall find you. Through you should lie closer than a lizard. And if you desire to know who it is lays this command on you, that you be more firmly bound to obey it, know that I am the valorous Don Quixote of La Mancha, the undoer of wrongs and injustices, and so God be with you, and keep in mind what you have promised and sworn under those penalties that have already been declared to you. Well, razor, how's razor? Have you taken your medicine yet because I have a razor? I don't have any meds. I don't believe you. Tiny bald northern lass. I'm not a tiny bald northern lass. I'm just a tiny northern lass. The youth complained about the threat of being laid flat by an older man. Pretty sure that's like 50 yaoi fanfics. Yes, it is. Good thing Brownie can't find me through all these proxies I'm hiding behind camera pans. I'm focused on the background. I'm in your walls. I'm in your PCs. I'm on your phones. I might even be on some of your consoles. I don't know. I read Demi and I finally realized what yaoi potential it has. It has so much yaoi potential, yes! It's so yaoi. It feels like a story about a man discovering how gay he is. It's so wonderful. Brady can't find me. I'm hiding behind 7 Greg sausage rolls. It was 10, but I can't agree. Fair. Am I sure I have no meds? Oh no. Oh no. She's eating your drywall. It looks like it. I'm eating the insulation. It tastes like cotton candy. Nobody knows yet follows the channel. Yay! Thank you. Can I have one of those sausage rolls? No. You may not. I get sausage rolls from work. Ha 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 ha. Be jealous. Where the heck was I? So saying, he gave Rocinante the spur and was soon out of reach. The farmer followed him with his eyes, and when he saw that he had cleared the wood and was no longer in sight, he turned to his boy Andres and said, "Come here, my son. I want to pay you what I owe you, as that undoer of wrongs has commanded me." you so much. We got 100, 100, 100. Oh, thank you so much. 400 bits. That's so many bits. So much bits. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm still not letting you shave my hair, though. It's gonna take more than fucking 400 bits for that shit. By my oath, said Andrus, your worship will be well advised to obey the command of that good knight. May he live 1,000 years. For, as he is a valiant and just judge by Rock, if you do not pay me, he will come back and do as he said. By my oath on it too, said the farmer, but as I have a strong affection for you, I want to add to the debt in order to add to the payment. And seizing him by the arm, he tied him up again, and gave him such a flogging that he left him for dead. Now, Master Andreas, said the farmer, call on the undoer of wrongings. You will find he won't undo that, though I am sure that I have quite done with you, for I have a good mind to flay you alive. But at last he untied him and gave him leave to look for his judge in order to put the sentence pronounced into execution. There is no price to shave that. No price would make me shave my head. No, 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 no. There's a whole internet between me and you guys. You're fine. You don't need a wall of protective sausage rolls. It's fine. I want to eat one too. I love me a sausage roll. Who doesn't? Oh. Andrus went off, rather down in the mouth, swearing he would look for the valiant Don Quixote of La Mancha and tell him exactly what had happened, and that all he would have to be repaid him sevenfold. But for all that he went off weeping, while his master stood laughing. Thus did the valiant Don Quixote right that wrong, and thoroughly satisfied with what had taken place, as he considered he had made a very happy and noble beginning with his knighthood, he took the roads towards his village in perfect self-content, saying in a low voice, Well mayst thou this day call thyself fortunate above all on earth, O Dulcina del Toboso, fairest of fair, since it has fallen to thy lot to hold subject and submissive to thy full will and pleasure a knight to so renowned as is and will be Don Quixote of La Mancha, who, as all the world knows, yesterday received the order of knighthood, and hath today righteth the greatest wrong and grievance that ever injustice conceived and cruelly perpetrated, who hath today plucked the rod from the hands of yonder ruthless oppressor, so wantonly lashing that tender child. He now came to a road branching in 4 directions, and immediately he was reminded of those crossroads where knight-errants used to stop to consider which road they should take. In imitation of them he halted for a while. After having deeply considered it, he gave Rocinante his head, submitting his own will to that of his hack, who followed out of his first intention, which was to make straight for his own stable, 'cause horsies are smart, and horsies always remembered the way home. After he had gone about 2 miles, Don Quixote perceived a large party of people, who, as afterwards appeared, were some Toledo traders on their way to buy silk at Murica. There were 6 of them coming along under their sunshades, with 4 servants mounted, and 3 muleteers on foot. Scarcely had Don Quixote described them when the fancy possessed him that this must be some new adventure. And to him, I just realized the time. Boo. I was having a good time. But I think the stream has to end now. I'm very sorry. I'll make a little highlight here. And we'll start at the crossroads for next time. But for today, it has been 2 hours. It didn't feel like 2 hours. This is literally one of those streams that kind of went by so fast because I had so much fun. Nobody knows yet. Surprise. Subscribe to the channel. Got a sub. I got his Twitch sub, guys. It's great. Thank you so much. Take this up for the great reading. Thank you. I don't get much on Twitch. I'm still kind of building Twitch, so I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed my reading. We do it every Sunday, so please feel free to come back. But for everyone else, if you have not already, I'd highly appreciate it if you could leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, and if you're on Twitch, give the channel a follow right now. Do it, please. Thank you. And yeah, if you've done all that, please consider going to my Discord. Discord's great. It's a good place to keep up with what I'm doing. If you've done that, if you enjoyed me reading, you should know that I have narrated audiobooks. So if you go to Audible and you search Brainy Rose Smith, you will find 2 audiobooks. Not 1, 2 audiobooks narrated by yours truly. So please pick them up and give them a wonderful review. Tell everyone how wonderful I am at reading so that they pick up my audiobooks. Pretty please. Right, reading streams are literally why I started watching Brainy. Always be 2 years. 2 years you guys have been around. That's so wild. To be consistently watching one creator for 2 years. That means a lot. That I am a creator that has managed to maintain that. And thank you so much for sticking around. Insane! And you know what's also insane? Tomorrow, I'm playing Rayman 3. I'm looking forward to it. I only vaguely remember enjoying this game. I had it on the PC when I was younger. You said I was watching back and me reading Frankenstein. Oh my god, that would have been back. That would have been New Lock era. So long ago. And then the day after that, more Limbus. Ricardo Heathcliff! Ricardo Heathcliff is not a drill! We'll be rolling for Ricardo on Tuesday. That is what to look forward to in the next week coming. But until tomorrow, I had fun. I hope you had fun. This has been Brainy Rose Smith, live in the Rin Library. Good. See you tomorrow.